And now to talk about our module of the week, let's turn it over to Martin Anderson Klutz, a principal solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Nick. Have you ever wanted to use Drupal as a URL shortening service? There's a module for that. It's called Shurly, that's spelled Shurly,
Surely
and
you're
is
not serious.
the project is actually dedicated to Leslie Nielsen, specifically for that reason, classic line from Airplane. The module was created in August of 2010 by Jeff Robbins, though recent releases are by João Ventura of Portugal. It has an 8.x 1.0 beta 4 release available, which supports Drupal 9.3, 10, and 11. And it is marked as minimally maintained, maintenance fixes only, and the project page says that the 8.x branch is not ready for production use. So a big caveat emptor if you decide to try it on your own. Now, for security coverage, it has opted in, but doesn't have a stable release currently. And it has 18 open issues, 5 of which are bugs against the current branch, which isn't bad considering it's officially in use by 730 sites, according to Drupal.org. Now, with the Shurly module installed, you can specify a long URL you want shortened, optionally also providing a case sensitive short URL you want to use. If none is provided, a short URL will be automatically generated. The module provides usage data for the short URLs, and as a user, you can see a list of the ones you've created as well as their click data. This is a little surprised to see that the created short URLs are stored in a custom DB table instead of as entities, but the module is able to avoid a full bootstrap of Drupal before issuing the intended redirects. The module provides blocks for creating short URLs, a bookmarklet to save a short URL, and URL history. There is also views integration for listing the short URLs by user or in whatever way will be useful in your site. There is also a submodule to provide web services for generating short URLs or potentially expand a short URL back into its long form. The services support output as text, JSON, JSONP, XML, or PHP serialized arrays. The module allows you to provide a variety of permissions to give fine-grained permissioned access to capabilities it provides, and also has features like per-roll rate limiting, APIs to alter redirection logic, and support for the Google Safe Browsing API and Google Analytics. It's worth mentioning that the Shurly module is intended to run in a site on its own instead of within a Drupal site that is serving content directly, but it will attempt to avoid collisions with existing site paths. Now, today's guest, James, is one of the maintainers of Shurly, but Nick, you mentioned before the show that you have a customer using this module. So why don't you start the discussion by telling us about your customer's use case and your own experience in working with Shurly?
Yeah, so my client's been using Shirley for I think 10 years now. They use it extensively, and they use it in combination also with like a redirect, kind of a similar site that just does redirects, right? The main purpose for Shirley for them, by the way, isn't just the shortening piece. It's also they use it in a way that they can provide a lot of the marketing collateral and like tokens automatically. So they're going to hear this, and I may get this piece wrong. So if so, I'll correct it next week. But you set up the short URL that you want, like, hey, fancy new marketing term. It adds you add all the parameters that you want on that particular URL, and then it kind of redirects you to the actual URL and appends those query parameters on it so that when they're marketing something, they just throw the nice simple URL and all the collateral that they're using, and anybody that clicks on it gets those UTM codes and everything added automatically. They don't have to like make sure that they're including them in every single website or whatever. And if they are change if something is wrong or they need to tweak it or add something, they can always just edit the entry and update the attribution to whatever they want the attribution to be moving forward. And any old link will now get that new attribution as well. So yeah, they've been using it forever. It's one of the last sites that we have on Drupal 7, actually. And we have a project open that's not the highest priority, but we've been slowly working on figuring out how to get it to Drupal 10 or 11 or whatever. But yeah, it's served us for a very long time. pretty powerful.
Nice.
So I looked at this when you suggested it and I was like, this is a great idea. And then I went down the rabbit hole of like trying to figure out what the best shortened URL would be. Like, cause I think like looking at this for like my own blog, right? Like it would be interesting to have a shortened URL that I could use for like blog posts and like, other stuff like that,
Mm,
kind of to do that tracking. Cause I was interested. If you look at the module page, it talks a lot about how it kind of tracks all the clicks and everything, which I was like, oh, that's interesting.
mhm.
And I'm like, I just can't figure out a good, short URL that makes sense. So
Like the
um,
domain, you mean? Or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
like the domain.
Mhm,
Which I mean, I guess I could just use it with my own domain, but
mhm.
Well, I
it's
mean, that
always if
that defeats the purpose of it. Like,
well, well,
the whole point is it's like Bitly.
yes and
Yeah.
right, yes and no, right? Because like my blog post, like a blog post link on my site at least always is like domain slash date slash title. So it's like really long, right? So
Mm,
at least if it were shortened, it could just be like domain slash some short thing to get
right.
somebody there, right?
Yeah,
And then I'd
but
be
that's
able
still
to
just
keep
a
track of
standard
the keep track of those clicks a little bit better. But
but that's still just a standard redirect, right? You could just create a redirect and
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, absolutely. You
I
are
guess
you are right.
if you were trying to get metrics on different campaigns or something like or different social networks or
yeah,
something where you could say like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got this short URL that I use on
yeah.
LinkedIn and this one on
Yeah, that's kinda what I was looking at is like
yeah.
how can I track where they're coming from? And I know somebody
Mhm.
listening that is like, "Hey, dummy, like Google will do that for you. All you have to do is X, Y, and Z."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I was just
But
thinking
then you've
like
gotta
this would
have,
be kinda cool.
Google Analytics running on your site, and some people don't wanna do that, so I think it's a valid
It's a true story.
so
True story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cool project. I guess I can keep you guys updated too as we make the move to Drupal 11 for that because
are you gonna be helping with the upgrade for the module? Or is
I don't know. I have a feeling that the if you look at the module page, it says the Drupal 8 version is still in development and should not be used in production. I have
Mhm.
a feeling that that is a very outdated statement, and considering the only supported version is the Drupal 8 and it was updated in September, I'm sure it's being used.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it
In
also makes me
production
wonder what used in production means, like,
Mhm.
because, I think if you look at the module page, there's a link to a Lullabot page where they used to kinda offer it as a free link shortener, right? So I'm wondering if that's what they mean by used in production, like, you could use it for your own internal purposes, but maybe not so much as a, like,
well,
"Hey, everybody, I'm gonna give this to you for link
no,
shortening."
production just means an external facing things. Like what my client is doing is production. I the funny thing is that I think there's 2 pieces that we have to be very careful of to make sure of for the
Mm.
move. One is we've cut like you said, everything is stored in custom database tables, and so we need to make sure that everything migrates properly there.
Mhm.
We have some fairly extensive customizations to the creation form to like I said, to allow us to add all the different attribution things that we need. And there's also some fairly I mean, it's not that extensive, and I'm sure we could do it in modern Drupal pretty easily. I just haven't spent it's one of the requirements, and I haven't spent any time whatsoever thinking about it. But we have things to block people from trying to visit the website directly. So basically, you're only allowed to use it to get the redirect. You're not allowed to visit the site directly unless you're logged in or authenticated from
Mm.
somewhere because we don't want people. I mean, it is a Drupal 7 site, so we don't
Yeah.
want people getting to it. But like you said, because it does it early bootstrap, it's not the attack surface isn't very high because you're just immediately getting redirected before Drupal is even doing anything. And then
Yeah, and if you've
we
got
block
caching in
all of the
front of
traffic.
that, then the redirects would be cached as well, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hosted on platform right now, so, Nginx, and we
Mhm.
got Cloudflare in front of that, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we got multiple layers of caching, so
Yeah. Yeah, it was a part of the as Martin mentioned, some of the original development of this back in the day. And when Jeff Robbins first created it, I think it was actually because, like, the .cm domains had come out or something, and he purchased lb.cm and then was like, "I wanna create a URL shortener with this," you know? And so for a while, we ran a public, like, you could create an account on lb.cm and,
Well,
start shortening URLs back
there's
then.
still lc.cx, which is linked to the
lc.cx. Huh,
which is
I don't
the
know what that
looks like a
is.
French
Okay, yeah, so
shortener.
that must have been later, but I guess I say this all to, like, dissuade anyone from trying to run your own public short URL shortener service because it very quickly turned into just a link, clickjacking sort of scam
Yeah,
schemes, all sorts of junk in there, and we were constantly getting things flagged. And that was, I think, maybe the development work I did was integrating with the, what was it called? The Google Safe
yeah,
browsing whatever, so that we could actually check the URLs before we would create
yeah,
the records or whatnot. But there was all this stuff we tried to do, and then eventually we what we did
yeah.
is converted all of our short URLs that were valid into an htaccess file and just took the whole service down, and so
Yeah,
now
that makes sense.
now we maintain an htaccess file, so
Well, if you think about it, so the way my client's using it is perfectly valid, right? We we're the ones adding all of
yeah, yeah,
the
that's a
URLs to
valid for
shorten, right?
sure. Yep.
We validate them, but
Mhm.
even though it's something kind of created on the whim, Jeff's whim, it sounded like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a cool idea. It's still valuable because,
Yeah.
especially for a company like Lullabot, learning how to manage something like that is valuable for a lot of your
I mean,
Oh,
customers,
for
right?
sure.
it's definitely valuable as an internal tool. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know that I would ever, like, be like, "Hey, everybody, use my link shortener," but, like,
Yeah.
to catch metrics and like, so I even was thinking just now as Martin was talking about it, like, oh, well, Talking Drupal posts a lot of links to a lot of different places. Like, it
Mhm.
would be useful for us to maybe have a link shortener, even for like our resources and our show notes,
Mhm.
to know which links are people are clicking on, and kind of have metrics to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I mean, I definitely see a lot of good uses for it. I don't know. I think it was ambitious to, like, open up a
Well,
Yeah, for
public
sure.
Bitly and think like the internet wasn't going to turn it into,
Yeah.
well,
So
that's exactly what I meant though. Like for a company like Lullabot, when you're handling your companies or your clients rather are companies like MSNBC, right?
Mhm.
Who has they're a news organization, they have a public comment section, they
Mhm.
probably need to handle all sorts of, screening and public abuse, that kind of thing, right? Experience at running a system, an anonymized system like the a public link shortener is something that's valuable to those customers because you could say, "Hey, we know we've been through the process of
Yeah.
moderating something like that.
Yeah.
We
Don't
know
do it.
what kind of abuse." Yeah, exactly. The short answer generally is don't do it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of these organizations, that type of engagement is critical and timely engagement is critical. Like you guys used to do the Grammys, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes, at least in the short term, not doing it isn't an option, but finding solutions for how to moderate in a way that's sustainable, even if it takes a lot of resources, is valuable.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, me, I would never ever want to commit
Yeah.
anywhere
Yeah.
near hosting something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll keep you guys updated as we make the move to. All right. Thank you, Martin. As always, another on topic. It's here's the other thing too about Shirley that's interesting. One last note. It's almost a distribution, but it's not. It's like a module, but it's like you said, it's a module that's meant to be run on its own instance of Drupal with nothing else. So it's not a distribution, it's not a profile, it's a
Mhm.
module, but it's meant to be standalone. And it's kind of unique. There's not really anything else I can think of on Drupal that'll work that's meant to be run like that.
Hmm. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I could almost see it being like a site recipe where it could set your site up in a bunch of very specific ways because I would think by intent, using Drupal in a fairly stripped down way.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, usually we're really just using it for the form API permissions and authentication. right? Yeah, there's almost nothing else that we're using it for. Like, there's some redirects and stuff, but that's pretty standard. All right. As always, Martin, great topic. If listeners want to suggest a module leak in the future, what's the best way for them to do that?
We are always happy to have discussions about interesting candidates for Module of the Week in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can find me as ManClue on all of the Drupal and social platforms.
Awesome. See you next week.
See you next week.